What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve Fall, and welcome to 10 Count. On today's edition, I am talking to the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. It's Ahmed Johnson. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, buddy. How about you?
I am doing great because I am talking to, like I mentioned, the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. And
Appreciate that.
It's truly an honor and a privilege because you shaped so many lives when we were growing up in the new generation era, the attitude era. You created memories for a lifetime. And today I want to talk about a few of them. But let's start from the beginning. How'd you even end up in the WWF at the time? Because it seemed like you came out of nowhere and dominated instantly.
I did. I was working little house shows, and one of the shows I was going against the Freebirds with Michael Hayes, Big Gordy, and got the other guy's name. But anyway,
Freebirds.
Yeah, when we got done wrestling, Michael Hayes told me, "I'm gonna get you in WWF, man." I was like, "Yeah, I hear that all the time. You know, nothing's happened yet." So I kind of just blew it off.
Yeah.
And then he did what he said, man. I got a phone call one day from Vince McMahon. And I thought somebody was clowning me. So I'm real short with him on the phone. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. And he starts laughing. He said, "I'll have you a ticket there tomorrow." I was like, okay. I hung the phone up, didn't say goodbye. And I'll be darned if the next day when UPS knocked on my door with a first class ticket to Stamford, Connecticut.
Wow. So now you come into Stamford, you're obviously in the headquarters, you're talking to Vince McMahon. What's that interaction like?
It was cool, man. I mean, he seemed to be a good dude. Very much in control. He seemed to be a good guy, but he had that control, full control.
Yes, of course. And then you're introduced instantly by body slamming Yokozuna on an episode of Raw, October 1995. And before this, I could probably count on my hand how many people actually body slammed Yokozuna on television. How is this pitched to you? Because this is, again, how you come in instantly and body slam Yoko is one of those moments where instantly you're a superstar.
Well, I had no idea what they were going to do with me on the first shoot we did a dark match, me and Rico Suave.
Yeah.
And it was outstanding. And then when I got to the big show, Vince calls me off. He said, "I want you to go down, want to do a run-in. I want you to slam Yoko." I was like, "They asked me, could I?" He just said, "I want you to." And so I went to Yoko and told Yoko that, Vince would slam you at the end. And Yoko and them were very jealous of me at that time. Like you said, I came from nowhere and ended up, on top of the card. And so Yoko says, "Well, hope you can get me up because I'm not going to jump for you." And I was like, damn, it's like that, huh? So when I got to the ring, I was so fired up, man. It took everything I had to get him up and over, but I did it.
Wow. So he was trying to push down all his weight on you, but you, obviously your strength at the time was just,
right.
couldn't match it.
Right.
Wow.
I was just determined to get him up no matter what.
So Yoko alone, was there hesitation from a lot of wrestlers giving you, I guess, assistance or help in the ring? Because again, like you just said, we kind of said it, like you come in, boom, superstar. There's got to be jealousy.
Brother, you talking about jealousy. Until the day I left, there was jealousy.
Wow.
The only person that helped me out was Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon would sit by the curtain and watch my match. And then when I got done, he would call me to the side and say, "Hey, do more of this, do less of this. Do that, don't do that." And Razor Ramon was the only one that stepped up to help me. All the rest of them, jealous as I don't know what.
Wow. Interesting, because your first pay-per-view introduction is Survivor Series 1995, and this weird wild card match, which I absolutely love. It's good guys teaming up with bad guys against good guys teaming up with bad guys, and you end up winning with Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog, and there you also are dominating. And has anyone given you the stronghold just like Yoko was? Because again, you're in the ring with Dean Douglas, who's Shane Douglas, Razor Ramon, Sid, you have Owen Hart, you have all of the big stars all in one match. And there you are too, being introduced. Like, is there some friction amongst everybody else in the ring as well?
Well, some guys it was. Owen Hart, it wasn't any friction.
Okay.
Owen was cool, man. He just played games the whole time in the ring playing ha-has, But all of them were jealous. And I don't blame them. Don't get me wrong. I don't blame them. I mean, if a kid comes off the street and could perform like I performed, and had the intensity that I had, and could do what I do, I would have been jealous too.
Right.
So I mean, I don't blame for being jealous. I would have been jealous too.
Right. And because coming in too was, obviously there are children in the world, African American children who need representation in any
Yes.
organization. And here you are coming in, positive role model, dominating, looking great, huge muscular man. Like, was there you see a change and a shift of fans seeing you and going like, I could be just like him someday?
Yes, it was a big shift. And that's what, they don't realize. It's like coming to first black title, I mean, first
Holding
black singles
a
champion.
Yeah.
They still today they don't understand where it came from. It came from me because Vince put the belt on me as his first black champion. And I had to perform in the ring and out the ring. And I did just that to his liking. And when he seen that, he was like, well, hey, maybe we can put the belt on, the black wrestlers and the fans will go with them.
Right.
But he was more worried about the fan reaction than anything. And see, like when I won the belt, the fans went crazy.
Of course. Yeah. Because again, you were positioned in a spot where why wouldn't they go crazy, obviously? Though as you move on from Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon and people like that, Jeff Jarrett hits you in the head twice with a framed record in December of 95. How does that feel, getting hit in the head with a framed record? Because I can't imagine that goes well.
Well, no, see, the first time it didn't break. The second time, I don't think it broke. I don't know. I don't remember. But I know the first time it didn't break. So he did it again. That pissed me off because we didn't say we were going to do it twice.
Right.
Hit me in the record. I sell. You go. But he was determined to try to smash that thing over my head. That was, once again, I think some jealousy coming from the back.
Interesting. Because again, yeah, you're obviously going through the motions of, hey, okay, we're gonna go out there. I beat Buddy Landell. Then you come out and we'll do this little bit here and there. But yeah, being smashed in the head once, we agreed on. Smashed in the head twice just to break it. Like, you were hitting the head. You were already hitting the head. You don't need to like break it over you. So obviously you're saying there was some jealousy there as well.
Exactly.
Wow, man. It seems like everything you're doing is going well on television, but behind the curtain, there seems to be a lot of friction with you. Your first, though, WrestleMania is WrestleMania 12. And again, you're involved with Jake the Snake Roberts and Yokozuna and Owen Hart and the British Bulldog. This is a huge opportunity. And growing up, you must have seen that WrestleMania was this gigantic card. What was your experience like being on your first WrestleMania?
It was good, man. I mean, everything was very, very good. Except I heard a podcast from Jake the Snake recently, and he's talking shit about me. And I don't understand that. Because I never did nothing to Jake. I was, behind him while he was going through his drug rehab. I was even praying for him at times. And then he started talking to smack on this podcast that he did.
Huh. What were the words that he said? I'm not aware of what he said about you.
I can't quite remember. I know the guy brought up Ahmed Johnson, and he said something very negative.
Huh.
Which I don't understand, because I think maybe he was one of the Joe's ones too, because here's Jake the Snake Roberts coming out, and he's supposed to get all the hype and all the applause, and I got a bigger applause than he did. And then Vince wanted me to go over and not him. And I think that runs some jealousy up.
Yeah. Again, I can't imagine it, because you're swimming with sharks. It seems like you're coming into an area and everyone's like, this is my spot. This is my spot. This is my money. But in reality, it's like you're not taking money off anyone's tables. Like,
I'm not.
Like, you're coming in and doing your own thing. It sounds it's just like anything with any business, with any sport, with any job. There's going to be jealousy, because seeing someone that is rising up when you believe you should be the one rising up, but yet, again, we talked about it. I think you're one of the core memories of a lot of wrestling fans. So talking to you today, again, I mentioned earlier, is an honor and a privilege just to sit here and chit chat with you about your career. But this moment right now we're going to talk about is something I think everyone brings up and will always talk about: you and Goldust. The the build to this is something that blew my mind because on television in 1996, you were not seeing what we were seeing on Monday Night Raw. You get unconscious, you're knocked out, you're on a gurney. Goldust comes up to save your life, and he's supposed to give you mouth to mouth, but in reality, he's a very flamboyant character. So we're being
Right.
suggested that he is trying to kiss you. And so, what was the plan going into this? This is 1996. This is not a commonplace. No one's very open about being gay in reality.
Right.
And so what is going on through your mind being pitched this idea?
Well, the idea was he was supposed to take his hand and cover my mouth, and like that, and then kiss his hand.
Yeah.
Instead of my mouth. But he decided he was gonna do a ha-ha, and he was gonna kiss me for real. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was live TV, so I couldn't get up and do what I wanted to do because we had the script written out already. And I was like, well, it's done now. All I can do is get him back.
Did you get him back?
Yeah, a little bit. I love Dustin though, man, but I got him back a little bit.
Yeah, that is a memory that at the time, again, I gotta keep bringing it up. 1996, in today's world, we're talking about in 2023, everyone's very open about who they are and who they want to be in the world. But in 1996, you weren't seeing this stuff on television or even movies, anywhere. So having this, was there a backlash maybe from USA or any of the advertisers? Because it feels like at the time, people would be like, that, we don't like this.
No, I don't think there was any backlash. If it was, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah. Okay, because I know there's weird segments with like people getting. I remember Duke the Dumpster Droese hit Jerry Lawler in the head with a trash can, and USA was like up in arms about a headshot with a trash can. And here we are, 96, doing a kiss angle with two men, and I can imagine in my brain they would not be okay with it. In today's world, this would be fine. They'd be like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right.
You do you. But King of the Ring 96, you end up winning the Intercontinental Championship. How are you feeling about this? Because we mentioned it a little while ago. First African-American Intercontinental Champion of all time. This title has been around since, I believe, the 70s with Pat Patterson holding it in an imaginary tournament. But how does that happen? How are you feeling winning this championship?
I didn't know how to feel, man. I mean, I was just feeding off the crowd, the way they were applauding and standing up, and that just made me feel so good. At that point, it wasn't about the belt. It was about being accepted. And we were in, Green Bay, Wisconsin, I believe?
I think so, yes.
Where there ain't too many Black people. And, to see them fans stand up like they did, they touched my heart, man, and changed my mind about a lot of things.
And what kind of things in your mind were being changed about? Exception? Representation?
Well, you had reputation. The fact that I heard Shawn Michaels told Vince that the people wasn't ready for a Black champion, and the people definitely showed them they were ready.
Yeah, of course.
So I mean that performance was, when that belt was unbelievable. It was almost up there with the most. I graduated from the Army, most distinguished undergraduate.
Yeah.
Which is the #1 guy out of 2,000 soldiers. I graduated top of the class, #1.
Wow.
And it was almost as great as that.
Of course. Again, those moments, you coming in and running down and knocking over the two jesters holding the door, and quite an event. In the same evening, Steve Austin wins the King of the Ring tournament. So like there's two huge moments on this night in general. But you mentioned Shawn Michaels because after you win the Intercontinental Championship here at King of the Ring 96, you kind of placed a Shawn Michaels like buddy. Like you're on TV with him a lot. You're teaming up with him at pay-per-views. What was your relationship like with Shawn Michaels? Because you just said you heard him say they weren't ready for a Black champion, but clearly they were, and now you're kind of put together on TV. Is there a backstage friction?
No. I was just wanting to get the belt off him. I just want to take his belt.
Yes.
That's what I was feeling. Since he made that statement. And I think that's right before he lost his smile. It was. He lost his smile. And I just wanted his belt, man.
Yeah. It seemed like you were on the path too, because you win a battle royal to become the #1 contender for the World Championship. You're supposed to get this title shot the night after SummerSlam. And if rumors are correct, Shawn Michaels was supposed to lose his championship to Vader at that SummerSlam. But unfortunately, you on TV they say you're injured because Farouk Ron Simmons attacks you, and
Right.
they create a storyline out of this saying you are injured. Now let's clarify everything right now. Now I have read many things, I have seen many podcasts, so let's clarify. Did you have kidney issues for real at the time?
Yes, I did
Okay,
for real.
okay, because you see so many things and people are trying to connect the
Yes,
dots, being like Ron Simmons took him out on purpose, and I don't know if
he
that
did.
was ever true.
He did.
He
That
did.
kick, yes. When you're in the ring, you give your body to that person, you expect that person to take care of you. And that's the name of the game. But no, he ran out, man, and did a full NFL kick to my open rib. Now, I opened myself up for him because I knew he was going to give me a kick, but not like that.
Mm.
But he gave me a full NFL kick. But he paid for it at, what was that called? Street Brawl.
Oh yeah, you guys definitely beat a crap at each other with 2x4s and weapons and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I want to make sure. So what I have read is correct, that you believe that Ron Simmons came out there and took you out on purpose, and yet you did have kidney issues at the time as well. Is anyone aware of this?
Well, no, I didn't have any kidney issues until that happened.
Oh,
And what Ron did was Ron's been on the podcast where he's admitted that he was jealous of me. He actually, I give him credit for that. He's actually the first guy that came out and admitted that he was jealous of me
wow.
because he was the first black, was it WCW champion?
Yeah, first step. Yes, first black.
Right, and he figured he was gonna come there and swoop that championship too, but it wasn't gonna happen.
No, when you come dressed as a gladiator, I don't think you would become world champion. There you are looking badass in your red gear, and there's Ron wearing a weird like foam helmet on his head. I think we know who will become champion first here, and it was going to be you. Ah, man, it was such a wonderful time as an Ahmed Johnson fan like myself, because you win the IC championship. You're placed with Shawn Michaels, who's world champion. I remember there's a Raw where you're fighting. It's like Billy and Bart Gunn, and you guys fight in a tag team match at championships. Then you fight in singles matches. Then you win a battle royal, become the more contender, and then boom. It felt like everything dropped out at once because suddenly you have to vacate the IC championship. You don't get your world title shot, and now you're injured for the rest of the year. How are you mentally after this? Because you are on cloud 9, rocket ship strapped to your back. Now it's changed.
Oh, I was pissed. I couldn't believe that Ron Simmons, who's supposed to be a professional, would do something like that, man. That was unbelievable. And the more I watched it, the more pissed I got, because I see how I opened myself up for him, and he came after that kick like he was punting a football. Right. And I don't know, man, just pissed me off. I was totally pissed off.
Yeah.
Like crabs in a barrel. One climbs up and somebody else will pull you back down. Because they don't want to see that crab leave the barrel.
Man. It's interesting you bring up, because you said like you're giving your body to professional wrestlers. You're in the ring and you're supposed to trust someone. You're not gonna get dropped on your head or hit for real in the gut like that. Maybe you get a little snug, but not a full-on football punt. But you're saying in a podcast, Ron Simmons admitted that he was jealous of you, unlike many other people who probably said things behind your back, but never actually to your face or on a podcast. No. So I just wanted to make sure we clarify, because you read all these things and it's like, oh, well, he had kidney issues, so they use Ron Simmons attacking him as an excuse to get him off TV. But you're saying that kick is what started this kidney issue.
That kick jarred it, man. That kick is what did it all.
Wow. Oh man. That is terrible, because again, that's right, that the rocket ship was strapped to you. And around this time, even before that, Ultimate Warrior came back into the WWE.
Yes.
Now, did you have any relationships or conversations with him? Because he was supposed to be part of your team with Shawn Michaels at an In Your House international incident, and then he just poofed out of the way and Sid comes in.
Yes. Me and the Warrior, it was kind of strange. I was walking to the locker room with the rest of the boys, and Warrior had his own dressing room. Oh. And he said, Ahmed, come over here and get dressed with me. And I was like, damn, that's an honor to be dressing with the Warrior. So I went over there and got dressed in the locker room with him. And he was, feeding me about the business, telling me this, that, and other. And he was like, brother, you're in the same shoes I was in, because I didn't hang out with any of the guys. After the match, they got drinking, drugging, whatever they do. And I didn't want to be part of that. So I didn't hang out with any of them. And they took that as me being conceited or something. I didn't want to hang out with them. It wasn't that. It's just I wasn't into what they were into.
Yeah. Was there a lot of drugs backstage at the time?
There was a lot of drugs, yes.
Wow. And so is like the office aware of this, or everyone's like, oh, we're making money, so we're okay?
I don't know if the office is aware of it or not. I'm not sure.
Interesting. Yeah. Because you always hear stories about somas and, mixing it with
Vicodin,
alcohol and Vicodin and taking, smoking weed. And obviously, the things are different now in today's world with different types of drugs you can take that are actually legal. But at the time, these things aren't on the up and up. And I know a lot of people have suffered. And as you've seen over the years, many wrestlers have passed away at a young age because of drug abuse from 20, 30 years ago affecting them in today's world, which is just
right?
unfortunate and sad. So it's good to see that you're still here doing your thing because, here we are, Ahmed Johnson. You came back, though, and you started feuding with Farouk, but now Farouk no longer is a gladiator. He has formed this nation of domination. And how are you feeling going into this? Because we're talking about it and you're pissed, like really pissed what happened to you. And now you're coming back in and they're going to, oh, hey, we're going to put you with Farouk. And it felt like you and Farouk you couldn't escape him. Every time you were going somewhere else, they just bring Farouk back along with you and you keep feuding.
Yeah, because the fans never got tired of it, man. I thought, the fans would say, okay, enough's enough between Ahmed and Farouk. Let's move on. But the fans, when we went out, they popped, they, on their feet, they loved it. And I was getting tired of it myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was getting tired of it. I was ready for a change.
Yeah. I as a viewer, it felt like it was great because everyone was enjoying themselves and got huge pops. But yet, there you are smashing Farouk in the back with a giant 2x4, the biggest 2x4 I've ever seen in my life. Seriously, Hacksaw Jim Duggan has a 2x4. You had I don't know what the hell that thing was, just a big plank of wood smashing people. But it was glorious to see, and you must have had a few, shots on Farouk's back a little harder because of that. Maybe that kick to the kidneys, but maybe he deserved it.
Yeah, he got a receipt. He had a receipt coming. He got a receipt. His real receipt came during the Battle Royal. I mean, not Battle Royal, the Street Brawl.
Oh, yeah, WrestleMania 13 with you and Legion of Doom.
That table, it broke his ribs, and his rib punctured his lung.
Wow.
Yeah. So I didn't feel bad about it because he didn't feel bad about doing me. So I don't feel bad about doing you.
Right.
But after that, we were on an even playing ground. After that, we seemed to, get along in the ring, and that's all that counts to me.
Yeah. I can imagine him going, okay, I did that to you. You did this to me. Let's stop this now because if it's going to get worse.
Somebody's going to get killed.
Yeah.
You're talking about the two most powerful wrestlers in the WWF at the time. I mean, Farouk was a powerful dude, man.
Right.
And then he's going against me, which is another powerful dude. So, man, if we kept going like that, trying to hurt each other, somebody's going to get hurt seriously.
Yeah, I can imagine. And at WrestleMania 13, it's funny because it's in Chicago. And if you look at local Chicago advertising for that event, the Chicago street fight between you and Legion of Doom Nation is kind of billed as a main event. At the time, Taker and Sid and Shawn Michaels was out in Bret Hart and Austin. But if you look at the Chicago advertising, your match is kind of labeled as a main event because of Legion of Doom being there. Now, you're teaming up with Legion of Doom, and you come out wearing the shoulder pads. Now, there's a rumor, and I want to clarify right now. There's a rumor that you wore those shoulder pads, and then you took them, and you never gave them back to Legion of Doom. Is that true?
No, that is not true. Animal gave me them. I mean, not Animal. Hulk gave me them shoulder pads. Okay. Second of all, if anybody knows the Road Warriors and you think you're going to take something from them, not get your ass kicked, that's a different ball game. But you see, there was never no heat about it. There was nothing mentioned about it. So after I left, but no, I was giving them shoulder pads.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Because for a lifetime, I've heard the story of he stole them. And I'm like, how do you even know this?
You think the Road Warriors would sit there and let somebody take something from them?
No, I don't.
Not beat the ass. I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I may have been big and bad, but I don't know if I can handle both of them at the same time.
I don't think anyone could, honestly. Doesn't matter who you are. The Giant, exactly. Hogan, Sting, doesn't matter. I don't think you can handle it. But that was a great match. Like, honestly, every year when WrestleMania comes around, I have like a marathon, and that's one of the matches I pick to watch because it's so intense. Like, it is full on brawling, beating the crap out of each other, big men hitting big men, and it's a brilliant match. So I just want to say, thank you for that match, because it's good. If no one's ever seen that match, if you're new to wrestling and you haven't checked that out, that's a match to watch. WrestleMania 13, Ahmed Johnson, Legion of Doom, Nation, because people get destroyed, and Ron Simmons obviously got destroyed that night as well.
Big time.
One memory I have of you as well is you giving D'Lo Brown the Pearl River plunge on a car outside in New York on Shotgun Saturday night. Now, is this planned, or are you just told, hey, go out there? Whose car is this?
No, I don't know who car it was. It wasn't planned. This is something I came up with as we were going outside, and I did it. It was, the moment seemed right for it, so I did it. And I don't know whose car it is, but they had a big old dent on the hood.
A big old D'Lo Brown dent too. It's not just like, oh, is that a rock or is that bird poop? No, this is a human body. Wow.
I have no idea who car that was.
Oh, good. Because for years, you hear stories of people going out there and like, oh, we're going to fight on this car, but it's someone's car. It's usually, for some reason, they always raped Howard Finkel. I'm like, oh, Howard Finkel, just put your car here. It's fine. It'll be safe. But this is a poor stranger parked out front, and then wow.
Somebody I don't even know.
Oh, imagine you come out from the club and with your girl, and you're like, all right, honey, let's go. What the hell? And you look at your car, and and you look up like, what? Where did it come from? How did this dent end up on Spider-Man?
No, some people consider that to be cool. Oh man, Ahmed Johnson's on top of my car. Ahmed Johnson did this dent in my car. Man, they see it cool. I would have had a fit if I came out with my hood was smashed in.
Yes. I would have definitely been pissed off.
I'm glad it wasn't a convertible with a paper hood.
Oh my! The seats landing in places you don't want them to land. Oh my God, man, that's a hilarious story.
That would have been a mess.
That poor person. How do you tell your insurance? Oh, I believe a human body landed on top of my car. Do you have proof? No, I don't have proof. I can tell it's a human body. I see legs, I see hands, I see a head.
Yeah, maybe he jumped from the building or something.
Where's the body? I don't know how you explain that. That poor person. If I could ever find that person, I would ask him, how did you explain this to the insurance company? Because I don't know how you do it. That's amazing. That is amazing. Now, what's your relationship like with Vince McMahon around this time? Because you were Intercontinental champion, you're feuding with the Nation of Domination. They're going to turn you heel, and you're going to join the Nation of Domination, which I felt like it was a good move, but also a bad move because it was in my brain. But what was your relationship like with Vince heading into this transition of going from babyface to bad guy?
Oh, the relationship was great. It's just I didn't really want to do it. I just want them to switch me up with somebody else to work with. Because me and Farouk have been around the dance floor a few times. And so I just wanted somebody else to work with. There was nothing against Farouk, nothing against anything. I just was tired of the same old.
Right. Yeah. It just, to me, it was bizarre. It was like, all right, they've been fighting for so long, and for months and months and months and months. And now he's going to just join them. Like, just because, and it never felt like organic to me, at least. If there was if there was a motive, sure, but it felt like you've been taken out, you've been fighting them on every event, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, in your houses, so on and so forth, and now here we are, and you're going to just join him for no reason,
with nothing.
With nothing.
There was no build up to it. There was nothing.
Like, was there a design to say like, oh, we're two African-American men fighting, and we're sick of people telling us to fight each other, we're going to team up now? Or is that just me reaching?
No, that comes straight from Vince. That was in Vince's mind. Wow. So what happened was, once I joined the Nation, Vince said he looked at the videotape of us coming down the ramp, me, Farouk, D'Lo, which was a waste, and coming down the ramp. And he said, he called us to the office, and he said, I want y'all to look at something. And he played the video of us coming down the ramp. He said, now who am I going to get to believe that y'all can be beat by anybody? So he said, Ahmed, I'm going to have to take you back out the Nation. Yeah. He said, it's just too powerful. I'll take you back out the Nation. What I was hoping they did was tag me and Ron up. That would have been a hell of a tag team. Can you imagine me and Ron going against the Legion of Doom?
Dude. Been great.
That would have been awesome.
Man, I didn't even know. I didn't know because it seemed so abrupt because the way you're taken out though is suddenly you're in the number one contender for the world championship. So you're finally going to get your world title match against the Undertaker. Big bad man, one of the number one superstars. And then there's a brawl. Now I want to confirm this as well. There's a brawl on the outside between you and I believe the DOA, the Disciples of Apocalypse. The gang wars were happening.
Uh-huh.
And again, this is what I've read, and let's confirm. There's the table is next to you, the announcer table, and you just get like kind of thrown onto it a little bit, and a screw or a nail like stabs you.
Yeah, there was a big old screw was sticking out. And as soon as I hit the table, it like ripped my hand open. So that was just a freak accident, but still they should have made sure the damn screws, wasn't out there because the boys were taking bumps on the tables,
Right. What if you get power bombed?
Yeah.
And slammed
Take
through
your
it.
eye out and anything.
So then from there, you're injured from the screw and you're replaced. You're no longer in the world championship match against Undertaker. I think Vader takes your spot at In Your House Canadian Stampede 1997. Right. So that injury to your hand is what removes you from the match?
No, I was still willing to go, to the match and be ready. But Vince, had a change of mind. I believe all the junk that Shawn Michaels and some of the other boys were putting in his head, they're not ready for Black Champion. They're not. But you just seen me win the Intercontinental belt, so I'm ready. Right. Their fans are ready. But Shawn Michaels, man, he kind of ran the coop back then. He was like the head dog back then, So whatever he said, kind of went. I remember him calling me to the office one day after maybe my third match, and he tells me, Ahmed, I can't let you do the high flying moves anymore. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You ain't let me do nothing. First of all, I'm doing it because I want to do it.
Right.
And he said, well, what happens is when I do it at 190 pounds and you come do it at 355 pounds, it doesn't look as great when I do it. It was all about him.
Right.
Making sure his acting went on, make sure his moves were, graced and everything. So yeah, he tried to stop me from doing all the high flying stuff, but I didn't.
Wow. Interesting. Because, you always hear stories of things like that happening where even Triple H said to The Rock, hey, that eyebrow thing you're doing isn't going to get over, so stop doing it. Obviously, it worked out for the Rock. But isn't that interesting exactly. That, Shawn Michaels pulling that stuff on you, and yet here you are still doing a great job. Now, were you supposed to win the World Championship against Undertaker?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. They had a schedule for me to win.
And the whispering of Shawn Michaels in Vince's ear changes his mind. On top of that, your hand injury, they use that as the excuse?
Right. I don't know if Shawn was saying it by himself or he had some backup with him.
Wow.
But they changed Vince's mind, man. Wow. Which really pissed me off.
No kidding. Because you would have been world champion and Intercontinental champion in a span of 1 year.
Exactly. And that's what I try to tell these young kids today. Y'all can say what you want to say, but none of y'all would be champion if I didn't carry that championship belt first and carrying it well. If I've been out there doing drugs and getting high and doing that and other, they would never put a belt on another Black man. I carried it well and they liked it, the fans liked it. And that's the reason why you have, these Bible Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, who I love to watch that dude wrestle. Yeah. And all these other, guys who won the championships. It started with me, otherwise it wouldn't have happened.
True. And it took a long time for world champions to exist who are African American. Mark Henry, Bobby Lashley, like it took a long time between you and, Shelton Benjamin won the Intercontinental Championship, but he wasn't world champion. Like Mark Henry and Bobby Lashley became world champions, The Rock as well. So there's a lot of people who became champions, but it's like the path had to be created somehow.
Yes.
And,
sir.
But the gap between you and then other people is just astonishing to me, though. Man, you winning the world championship and but and the problem though is I don't know if the narrative, at least on the online articles, whatever, is you're injury prone. That's what the tone of random articles are. And I never believed it. That's why I'm so happy to talk to you now because, how is it your fault there was a nail sticking out of a table? How is it your fault that Ron Simmons kicked you in the gut and hurt your kidneys? It's not, but they'll label you as injury prone somehow.
I wish everybody thought like you did and had a sensible way of looking at it. But all they knew is read these dirt sheets and, Ahmed Johnson was mean. He was tough to work with. He was, hitting too hard. If that was the case, why when I was WCW, I never had one complaint about hitting too hard. I never had one complaint about not being sociable in the locker room. Not one. You call any WCW guy and they'll tell you he wouldn't like that.
Right.
And what you telling me, WCW guys were tougher than WWF guys because they didn't complain or cry? So it was a bunch of bull, man.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of bull.
I agree. Anytime I read an article about anybody that says they were tough to work with, I feel like that's like the number one thing to say to like just cover up any problems. Like, oh, he was tough to work with. That's
Yes.
it.
That covers everything.
That covers exactly. Because then you're like, well, you connect some dots and you're like thinking to yourself, well, maybe he was difficult to work with because if I connect this dot to this dot, it looks like he's tough to work with. But in reality, it's just people putting out these rumors to make sure they're covering their asses so they don't look poor. Like the people that are talking, whispering in Vince's ear now run the company. They run organizations. Exactly. How did they end up? How did they end up there? I wonder. Maybe some whispering. Man, Ahmed Johnson's world champion.
To show you how much pull they had, man. They had that pull and they kept that pull. With Vince and everybody else, they kept that kind of pull with them, man. And like you said, here they are now running the company.
So obviously your experience with wrestling politics is not a good one. Now, did you ever have to politic? Because it feels like you didn't. It feels like you were just going to work, doing your job, going home. But like because it's hard. I imagine it's hard to deal with. You hear people talking about you, but then how do you counteract that?
Well, when I was there, I never heard any of this.
Oh, okay.
Any of this. It's when I left. All kind of rumors start coming out. Oh, man, Johnson's difficult to work with, or he's mean, or he don't get along with the boys. And it wasn't that, man. It's just I had my own lifestyle, like the Warrior said, and I had my own style, my own vision, and I was working toward that.
Man,
just like the Warrior did.
Right. And obviously Warrior has a reputation of one thing. That's why I'm very happy to hear the story that you shared about him, because I've asked many people who worked with Ultimate Warrior stories. I'm like, oh, can you share a Warrior story? They never come out positive. They always come out negative, but yet your experience obviously is completely different from every individual has a different experience with any individual in this world. So obviously yours was different from me talking to, a different wrestler from a different time.
Right. And the thing about that is, I believe that you treat a man the way a man treats you. If you come at me wrong and treat me bad, then I'm gonna treat you bad. If you come at me cool and very polite and up and up, then I'm gonna treat you right. But you only judge a man by the way the man treats you.
I agree. And so, how we talked about it a little bit, but how disappointing were you feeling that you're going into this match with Taker and then suddenly you're yanked from this and they're using your hands as an excuse?
Oh, it was a big disappointment, man. Big disappointment.
At one point, though, are you saying to yourself, like, what's going on? Because you ended up leaving the company in 1998. And again, another thing we need to clarify here. I have read many reasons why you left the WWE. One was your sister being sick. Another one, I've read years later, racism. So let's talk about it. What was the reason why you left? The storyline, you're supposed to get beat up by the Truth Commission on an episode of Raw, I believe, and then the story is he's tough to work with. He didn't want to do it. And then suddenly you leave, but you didn't tell anyone why you were leaving. But your sister was sick. Can you clarify all this?
Yes, she was sick, and I think racism did play its part in it, but not from Vince.
Okay.
From Shawn Michaels and some of the other boys. I mean, like they did that thing with DX when Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation and the Nation Domination was getting into it, and they wrote all that racist stuff on the wall. That was pushing it for me, and I couldn't have done that. And the thing with the True Commission was what they wanted to do. They wanted him to hang me from a rope. Yes.
By your neck.
Yes. You know how lynching is a very sore subject with Black people.
Yeah, because it's not too far away. It's not too long ago.
Right, and they wanted hang me from a rope, and that just wouldn't happen with me, brother. I mean, I'll do any other angle with the rope. No.
Wow. I have never read that part about the rope. It was just
I never told anybody. So
Well, thank you for sharing, because the story is like you didn't want to get beat up on television while your sister was sick watching you on TV because she was very ill, and so
And
you
that's
didn't.
true too. And I didn't want her to spend her last minutes watching me get beat up.
Right, right. So there's many different reasons why you ended up leaving the company.
Right. She was a big fan, man. And you know, and then she passed like a day or two after that,
Mm,
after I left. So she would have had to see me get beat up and hung from a rope before she passed. And that wasn't the image I was trying to put out. Not for her. I mean, to the black kids out there, to anybody. That is going too far.
yes, I agree. And now, while by you saying no, do you believe this is where the he's tough to work with type of deal? Because they're like, well, someone
Yes.
else said yes to doing this crazy thing. He doesn't want to do what we want him to do.
Yes. That's where he's hard to work with comes in at. Because I said no one time. No, Shawn Michaels and Triple H and Razor and Diesel them could say no, but I couldn't say no.
Right.
So I said no. I wouldn't. I didn't agree to it.
Oh man.
So
And so,
all that coming down on me at once, man. It just, oh no. At that time, there's a bunch of stuff just coming down on me.
mm-hmm.
So I guess more of my mental, mind wasn't right. I wasn't set up mentally to do all these things. And it was hard to handle all these things all at once.
Was it maybe too much too soon? And plus, on top of that, your home life with your sister is kind of having an issue as well.
Well, I don't know if it was too much too soon. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was green, man. I'll be
Yeah.
first to admit it. I was green. And it's just that even being green, you can pop a house like that and fans want to see you. Something else was working there, man. That was something else working.
Yeah. They were definitely 100% behind you. So, though, after your sister passes away, is there conversations about like, hey, Ahmed, like I know that we had a falling out like a couple days ago, but hey, do you want to come back? Are we interested? Because I don't think you just dip out of a contract.
No, it wasn't any. We didn't have any conversation. I wouldn't take any calls from the office or anything. I was through, man. I was done.
With the WWE and the way they were treating you, because obviously you end up in WCW.
Yes, I was done, man. And it wasn't about money for me like it is for everybody else because I had money from playing football. So it wasn't about the money thing for me. It was about, putting some pride back in these little African American children that watch this show.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that
No,
was the result of it.
I agree. Bret Hart in an interview once said he's not hungry for money; he's hungry for respect, and
Exactly.
obviously the same thing for you as well. And speaking of Bret Hart, you were there when the Montreal Screwjob happened, and
Yes,
I've
sir.
talked to many wrestlers that they said this was mentally affected them, and they were like, "How if it can happen to Bret Hart, it can happen to me." What was your experience like? Because you were there in the building.
Yeah, I mean, to see Brett get screwed over like that, man, and he put it 14 years in that company, and I heard he never missed a day
Yes.
from wrestling. You got an employee that's come to work 14 years, never missed a day, and you can't let him go out with the belt. I didn't like that, man. That didn't sit good with me.
No. Yeah, it didn't fit well with many wrestling fans. And then, of course, the argument is like, well, at the time they were at war with another, with WCW, so they couldn't let their champion end up on their show with a title because if you show up, well, that's great. You showed up. It looks really bad. And then there'll be lawsuits. But the initial punch is showing up with the championship. So I'm not on either side of the table, but I always want to hear the perspective of a professional wrestler like yourself, who's actually in
Right.
the company, because how does that mentally affect all the boys, you think? Because now they're saying like, well, I have to fall in line. I can't say no, but then you're saying no to Truth Commission. So it turns into this big turning wheel of like, well, can I say no now or am I screwed? And
Right.
clearly you feel like maybe you are screwed.
Well, the thing is with Bret Hart, man, Bret wasn't going to take the belt with him.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't want to be beat in his country.
Right. And hated Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, he didn't want to be beaten in Canada. I mean, that's where all his fans are. And he was willing to give the belt up the next night at another place.
Yeah.
Where we was going after that. He was willing to get the belt up. But they, Screwed him, man.
Man.
And don't believe Shawn Michaels didn't know that was going on. He knew all about that going on.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Tell people, I didn't know it was going to happen. And then he gets Earl Hebner's face. What did you do? What did you do? You know, get out of here. We know you had a plan this.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
you heard Earl Hebner counting, you could have stopped and let him up. Don't try it.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations like that in wrestling where people get screwed over for no reason at all. But you ended up in WCW, forming
Yeah.
Harlem Heat 2000. And again, you're coming in, you're obviously established. So who do you talk to in WCW about coming in?
I didn't. Me and Stevie Ray used to be real good friends, man. We grew up in the streets together. We kicked ass together. I mean, we just took care of business, dog. And what happened was Steve Ray called me. And after I come to WCW, tag with him. And I'm like, no, man. I mean, not right now, you know, 'cause I was out of shape bad. And then he asked me, and I told him no. But then he asked me again. Then Vince Russo calls me.
Mm,
And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's my boy. Steve Ray's my boy. I can't turn my back on him. So I told him, yeah, I'll come down and do it.
wow.
But it was sad because I wasn't in shape. I didn't really want to get back in the ring, but it was something I felt I owed my partner. You know what I'm saying? So there I went.
Interesting. Now, so when you come in, you're saying you're not in shape, Big T. And so why were you out of shape? Did you stopped when you left the WWE? You were like, I'm not going to work out right now.
Exactly. I was on a relax zone, man. I was just sitting back and relaxing and eating. And
Oh,
I gained a bunch of weight, man. And it was like, oh man, I don't really want to do this, you know, but I can't turn my boy down.
of course.
You know, if he needs me, he'll be there for me if I needed him. So yeah, I'll do it.
Oh man, yeah. I always enjoy anything Harlem Heat. So you joining the lineage of Harlem Heat will always be a positive thing. How did Booker T feel about that? Because Harlem Heat was, obviously two brothers, Booker
He
T and Stevie Ray.
Right, he didn't like it.
No.
He didn't know if I was gonna come in and take some of his shine or what the deal was, but he didn't like it at all.
Hmm.
He did not like it.
Because I know Harlem Heat's obviously a trademarked, name from WCW. Obviously, the WWE owns it now, so it's like, he thinks it's his, but in reality, the company owns it. He can't just go somewhere with it. But that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate that he didn't enjoy your run there. But you were there with Hulk Hogan as well. And do you have any conversations with him? Because every person has a different experience with like Ultimate Warrior. What was your experience like with Hulk Hogan?
Well, besides him being a racist, that we found out later on, when he was in there with me, he was cool. We had that battle royal, and I went to him and started hitting him, and just hitting him. And then when we got done behind the curtains, he was like, "Hey, brother, I thought you were gonna kill me with them punches. I see you out here, and I see you throwing punches. You look like you're killing the guy." He said, "Well, those were some of the softest punches I ever took."
Wow.
You know, so he gave me his step of approval on that, and that just shows you the difference between the bullshit that was going on in WWE and what was going on in WCW. Nobody complained. Nobody had anything to say about any of my matches. And I
Interesting.
was out of shape then, so I'm sure I did potato some people. I was out of shape. But WWF, they just cried about it, man.
A lot of, I guess, a different perspective of, wrestling. But it's great to hear that Hulk Hogan was so positive to you. But you did bring up, unfortunately, what's happened in the past, decade of Hulk Hogan. Do you think that's tarnished his legacy?
Yeah, I think it did. I
The-
really, truly think it did.
Yeah, and he never came forward and apologized either. So I think that's what makes it even worse.
Exactly.
Where if you apologized, you still did something wrong. We all have done something wrong in our lives. But if you
Right.
don't come forward and say, I did something wrong, then maybe we can open up for forgiveness. But I know a lot of people will never forgive him for saying what he said and not apologizing either.
Right. Exactly.
So we'll move on there. But do you think that you'll ever end up in the WWE Hall of Fame? I think so, but
I
do
don't know,
you?
man. Vince is pissed at me, so I don't know. When Vince gets pissed at you, he holds a grudge, brother.
Vince is still
Like,
pissed at
you
you
know, yeah, he's still pissed.
about what?
He's still about me leaving.
Really?
Yeah, he's still mad at me about that.
How
And
do you?
you know, a lot of great wrestlers didn't end up in the Hall of Fame, like Kamala.
Right.
Kamala deserves place in the Hall of Fame big time, man. I mean, all stuff he went through. You talking about me going through racism? No, Kamala went through some racism.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine his character didn't help that situation, unfortunately.
Exactly. And
Like,
that's one thing about my character. When they called me to the office, when I first got signed, they just told me to go out there and wrestle. They didn't tell me you're a babyface, you're a heel. Just go out there and perform.
yeah.
And which they're going to want to see how the crowd reacted. And when I came out, the crowd just popped. So that made me a heel. I call it a heel like babyface.
A
I think I
tweener.
wrestle like a heel.
Yeah. A nice tweener. You're beating the crap out of people,
Yeah,
but people love you still.
exactly.
Oh man, I think you should go in the Hall of Fame. Maybe there's been people, have said some crazy things or mean things about Vince McMahon, and
Hmm.
many people, and they all been put in the Hall of Fame. So hopefully someday we'll get you there because I think you deserve it. Again, first African American Intercontinental Champion. If
Yeah,
that's not
how can you
credentials alone,
exactly? How can you have a Hall of Fame, but you don't have the first African American in the Hall of Fame?
right?
It's the Hall of Shame, man. The Hall of Shame. I mean, you got Donald Trump in there. You got all these idiotic people in there, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's Vince baby. Let him carry it.
True. We'll see when he dies and they put his head inside of a glass jar and they fill it with water and somehow keep him alive. But we'll see. We'll see what happens someday because I think you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because, again, like I just said, first African American Intercontinental Champion. That's Hall of Fame right there. Like, you don't need to even do anything else. It's like,
No,
oh, okay, boom, you did it. But you had great storylines with Farouk, positive role model, coming in and beating the crap out of Goldust. Pearl River plunging D'Lo Brown on a car. Come on, people. The highlight video speaks for itself. But I have to say, it's been an honor and a privilege talking to you today about your historic career from top to bottom, from left to right. We did it all. We clarified every damn Ahmed Johnson rumor I've ever read in my life. And they have all been untrue. We have uncovered the truth here on this interview. So I want to say
yes.
thank you for telling the truth. And thank you for sharing your story because I think people want to hear from you because people like me grew up on you and we hold you dear to our hearts. So having you here today,
Thank you,
sharing
bro.
your career, an honor and a privilege. So I've been Steve Fall from 10 Count. He's Ahmed Johnson, the greatest Intercontinental champion of all time. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.